What up, people? My people from everywhere, all around the globe, regardless of what color you wear, what race you are, it doesn't even matter. Just thank you. Welcome back to the show. So, tonight I got to do something a little different. I got to tone it down some. I hope y'all like episode 8. That was a serious one. And I wanted to say this about episode 8. When I said who came back and shot at us that day, we just assumed it was Crenshaw Mafias, but we never found out. Could have been the paybacks. Like I said, we had just got in a situation with them, so it could have been the paybacks. You know what I mean? They said cuz, but you gangbang, especially back then, people will pull up and say, "What's up, cuz?" and make you think that they Crips. Then open up and like, "What's up, blood?" Crips do the same. "What's up, blood?" and get off, "What's up, cuz?" Just a disguise. That was part of the culture, what we was doing at that time, which I'm sure they're probably still doing at this time as well. It don't stop. History repeats itself. But today I got to stop for a minute and just take a moment to say something. Me as a gang member, my influence started from my older cousins. My older cousin, Kato, from 9 Duce Block Bishop, rest in peace, was my biggest influence on the gang culture. Is what first made me want to become a gang member. Should I say spark my interest into the gang culture, the gang stuff, gang world, period. Kato was, to me, was hard as fuck, straight up. Kato was, like when I see these interviews on these other channels and they talk about back in the late 70s and whatever, and they were saying how a lot of blacks, a lot of gang members wore karate suits and stuff like that. They called them geeks or something like that. And, I saw that. I witnessed that. I come up at a time when they was doing that. When you seen straight up, you seen gang bangers in L.A. running around with karate shoes on. Before the females became really popular with doing that, dudes was doing that. I had some as a kid. My cousin Kato used to take me downtown and get a pair for $5. Just take me downtown L.A. We used to go down there. I think it was called the State Theater. We watching movies and stuff, karate films. Karate was a big thing in the black community back in the 70s. And I just learned recently that, the dudes, the old hood called the Cooper families, that's what they was big on karate. But me as a kid coming up, I witnessed it because, like I said, my roots is in Watts. I come from off the east side initially. Like I said, all my family's from Bishop, Circle City, Piru, Hacienda Village Boys. I got family from Hunters, an additional family now from Bebop, Watts, it's just West Side Piru. It's just so many, but originally it was always just mainly the Bishops, the Hacienda Village, and the Circle City. That's what we was deep at. I'm actually the first Crip in my family. Everybody else is blood, so I choose to be different. I mean, that's me, y'all. Y'all ain't figured it out. I don't want to do what everybody else do. I gotta be a trailblazer, find my own way, right? But anyway, Kato is my second cousin. That's my mama's first cousin. So Kato's my second cousin. So when I was coming up as a kid, Kato was to watch me a lot, take me with him. Kato actually taught me how to spray paint on the wall. I first learned how to strike up. I was with him and his homie Night Train and some OG cats from Bishop. And there used to be in the alley right there behind Bandera, I think in Fur. I remember clearly with a can of, they had like a color, kind of like this pinkish color on this hoodie right here. It's like a pink color can of spray paint. And I remember he was like Kato. But before his name was Kato, we used to call him Gangsta Duck. And he used to draw stuff all the time around the house. I used to be over at my aunt's house and I used to be like, he'd get a board, he'd draw like naked ladies and he'd do like Gangsta Duck. And he'd draw this cross, like a cross. And the cross got like the steps on the bottom. And it'd be like 9 Dudes Block Bishop. I don't think they claim Block Bishop. I think they just push East Side Bishop. But Kato is my big cousin. Just like I love that cat. You know what I mean? He's like I got a chance to spend a lot of time with him since I've been home. He's like my biggest influence to the gang culture. Like I said, I got my cousin D from Hat Gang that influenced me more so on the Crip part of it. I'll tell you more about my cousin D in a little while or later, another video. But right now, this is about Kato, and I'll be seeing his homies on there. The dudes from Bishop on these other networks. And this dude is like, you know, I ain't heard nobody mention his name, but Kato was a low, straight up. I just see Kato come home with his jaw broke. You know, I just watch him be chewing. We used to go to Tam's on Manchester, and he'll buy me something to eat. We go back to my aunt Shirley house on Bandera, because they stay right off of 92nd and Bandera, between 92nd and Firestone. So that's why I know that area over there so well, because we stayed on Bandera. My aunt Shirley when my mama was young, and I was a little kid, so that's where we stayed at. So I knew a lot of the OG bishops from back then. That's the brought my cousin them. That whole area over there. I messed around at 96 Elementary, 92nd Elementary, Graham Elementary. I done been around through all that. That whole east side over there by Harrison Ross on Firestone. I know that area. That's how I know about shopping in Huntington Park, because that's where we come from. A lot of cats on the west side that didn't live on the east side don't know too much about shopping in Huntington Park. That's some east side shit in Greenspans on Tweety or some shit like that. This is where you got your gang attire at. This is where my older cousins influenced me, him, Kato, and his brother. My other cousin is Kato's brother, my cousin Chubb. Shout out to my cousin Chubbs out here. Them is the first gang bangers in my family. Right there. And it was Bloods from Nine Deuce Bishop. And they both influenced me. And my female cousin, Miss Bouncy. She's from Circle City Pyro. So all them, are my influence. But Kato was the first one in our family to be an actual gangbanger. And Kato, yeah, Kato's the truth, man. Kato was hard. Kato just took ass whoopings like, like they say Chris Rock took it like a G. He didn't take it like a G, but whatever, nigga. G's don't get fired on and don't do nothing, Chris Rock. But back to what I was saying, though. But this dude to go over there and get his ass whooped, man. But on Grape Streets back in the days, I didn't understand what Grape Streets was when I was just a little kid. But I know he had a lot of issues with Grape Streets, and he just wouldn't stop. When back then they called the Firestone Police Station, the Firestone Sheriff Department. Like I say, everybody who knows from the streets from back then, late 70s, early 80s, know what they called the Firestone Sheriffs. They called them Stony Boys. I remember looking out the window at these cats out here jumping on my cousin Kato and them in the front yard. So, right then and there, as a kid, you grow up to be like, fuck the police. That's where that mentality started at with me, from watching them jump on my cousin Kato and his homies out in the front yard, right on Bandera. But I just wanted to say, man, man, one man, one man, man, one man. People, y'all feel me? I'm tired, y'all. I got off of work. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. It's just like I just had this on my mind, so I wanted to just speak on my cousin, cause I feel like my cousin deserved to be spoke on. He deserved to be recognized. Cause I see dudes from that section over there. I don't never hear nobody speak on his name, right? But it's my cousin, so I'm supposed to do that. That's what you do, right? Kato, Big Kato from Bishop. My second cousin, my influence to the gang lifestyle to begin with. Rest in peace. He died like 2 years ago. 3 years. 2 years ago, he had cancer. You see from the thumbnail, I was at the hospital. I was at King Drew, which we call Killer King. That was at the hospital, and you see while we in there together, he giving it up on me. He just had to steal the bang on me, but he always did that, you know. Before he died, he was like out in Moreno Valley one day. He was out there homeless in Moreno Valley. I found out he was out there. I shot straight out there. Like, well, my cousin, they say he homeless out somewhere in Moreno Valley. So I went out there and found him somewhere on the other side of Alessandro in the back of some stores, whatever them stores used to be over there. I don't know what stores they don't remember. But my cousin stayed out there. And my cousin, like, he over there on the other side of Alessandro. So I go up there and scoop him up and throw him in the car. And like, let's go, bro. And I can't see my cousin out there like that, but that's what he wanted to do. So I take him out to Hemet to my Uncle Ricky house. Uncle Rick, you know, like that's his nephew. Uncle Rick, like, man, come on here, you can stay with me. Don't even trip. You ain't got to be out there like that. Like, you know, so we out here at my Uncle Rick house. He decided to stay at Uncle Rick house. Soon as I leave, Kato trip out. He don't want to stay at Uncle Rick house. He want to go back to the streets. He had some white woman out there with him. So he went to go get his girl. He told Rick he need this to bring this white woman from the streets up in Rick house. Uncle Uncle Rick was like, hell, hell no, nah, you ain't bringing that woman up in my house. I don't know her. Fuck you, you my nephew, but you can stay here, but not her. So Kato was like, fuck that. Kato went back to the streets. I come back out that way. I shoot back out the Reno Valley. I'm like, what, looking for Kato. Now Kato back in Watts. Kato back in the hood. He went back to his hood. And, you know, from there, Kato ended up in King Drew Medical Center. Martin Luther King, a.k.a. Killer King. He was in King for a while. I shot down there. I was going to visit him up in King. And then his sister, my cousin Tamika, they had him moved to, because he wasn't getting out the hospital. He never got out the hospital after that. He ended up somewhere out in San Bernardino somewhere because she wanted him to be closer to her. And he already knew his condition. The family knew his condition. Actually, he was somewhere in Colton or something over there. So yeah, somewhere over there in Colton by Grand Terrace, because I went up there up a little road off the 215 freeway. And when they saw him over there, and I remember he was over there, and they was already told us he don't have a lot of time left to live. So, you know, I'm going to see him. I remember I went over there. I had on the purple Wrong Enemy hoodie. And right away, he like tripping on me because I got on purple. I was like, damn. I like, damn, man, you don't stop, do you? You sitting up here, you like, man, go home. You ain't got to come see me. I want you to see me like this. But he had something to say about me with that purple hoodie. That was his hatred to Grape Streets because all the stuff the Grape Streets did. But he grew up with a bunch of Grape Streets. I knew Grape Streets that's to run with him. Cats like Yaki and all these cats used to be around there. Everybody who stayed right down here at the corner down there, like that 92nd. Yeah, 92nd and Bandera. They used to be on the other side of 92nd. The Grape Streets used to be over there. So I knew a few Grape Streets that he knew personally, but still, you know, you can't, you from Bishop, you ain't got no business going up in them Jordan Downs, man. I didn't understand that back then, but I eventually learned that, you know, as I got older. Because I didn't slid back through there. As I got older, when I'm banging, I didn't pushed up over there with little spot they used to be at over there. I think that was on Elm or Fur, whatever streets the Bishops was on. I done pushed up looking for him in the Suzuki Jeep that I was telling y'all about. When I had that gray Jeep, the one I was telling y'all about in one of the other stories. Yeah, I done pushed up in the Bishops on my cousin, and I think was Saturday. And I go over there with some homies, some old Crips, and he like, man, you can't be coming over here like this. But I don't know. I guess it's like that. I know a lot of these cats, my family from over here, so I just like shit. I'm sure it's a lot of people do that. Everybody who grew up somewhere before they became gang members, they knew these dudes over here when y'all was kids. Same with me in the Haciendas. There's a few people I done ran across from the Haciendas. I didn't call dudes from the Haciendas up in World on Wheels skating ring. Knew damn well they had no business up in there. I didn't just like, I didn't like, matter of fact, it was my rest in peace, I think, Wraith and Cole from Haciendas. I didn't call them up there. Yeah, I come up with the whole family. I know the whole Cole family from Haciendas. And, I was gonna say that side of town over there is where my roots from, Watts. So I knew a bunch of bloods coming up when I was kids. You know what I mean? said, I got family from Hacianas and all the hoods I just mentioned in that area. So when you a kid, you coming up, you know these dudes. You don't forget these dudes. They don't forget you. You just because we was kids before we was like actually gang members. So it don't change nothing. You know what I mean? I got love for them dudes. Whole lot of dudes from that side of town. Like I said, for me, uh, we just was happening to live on the other side of town. Where we eventually moms would move to the other side of town. And by it was time for me to start, claiming something, I just choose to be on the blue side. Shout out to all of them. Most importantly, though, rest in peace to my cousin Kato, Nine Duce, Black Bishop. Love you, cuzzo. R.I.P. Real quick, before I publish this, I want to say this. So when I pulled up on Kato the first time, and I went and picked him up, he was in Moval. I think it used to be an old Food for Less or something right there on Alessandro. So he was back there when I scooped him up. So I got this purple hoodie on. This is the one he was clowning me when I came to see him in the little home before he passed away. He told me because I had on purple. He was like looking at me all funny. But it's crazy though, because when I pulled up to scoop him up in the back of that old shopping center on Alessandro and Moval, he was with Ike Battle from Grape. Ike Battle was a reputable nigga name from Grape Street. Everybody who know Grape Streets know the name Ike Battle. So him and Kato back there together hanging out. They both on some homeless shit. So I'm like, it's crazy how things go. You know what I mean? You just full circle. You don't like these dudes, but like I said, he grew up with a bunch of Grape Streets. He always knew a bunch of Grape Streets, but still, he had the heart to keep trying to go up in the Jordan Downs, and that wasn't working out for him. But they couldn't stop him. He just kept doing it over and over again. He even know a lot of 890s coasters because they was right there by them, the beach towns, all of them knew Kato from Bishop. Y'all spoke highly of him, said he just was an alcoholic, but which is why he died from some kind of cancer to the liver or something like that. But once again, rest in peace to my big cousin Kato from Bishop.